What's good? What's good? What's good? It's your buzzing cousin Ghost Boogie. Welcome into B-Boys Underground. We've got a special episode for you today. I cannot wait to get into this. If you've been paying attention, you've seen the motion, industry credits, real work behind the scenes, and a rise that's been turning heads, man. M80's name has been attached to accolades and recognitions, and more importantly, to the kind of consistency that usually goes unnoticed until it's undeniable. From the booth to the truth, live, uncut, unfiltered, and raw, we are B-Boys Underground. This isn't about headlines or hype, it's about story, process, and, basically perspective. How the opportunities happened, what the grind actually looked like, and what people don't see when they only catch the clips. We're talking wins, lessons, and moments that shape the journey and the conversations the culture's been circling around. Without further ado, it is my pleasure, my privilege, and honor to welcome in the one and only M80, y'all. M80, what is good, fam? How are you? And welcome in to B-Boys Underground, family. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it, family, man. So basically, as we get into this, I just want to say, just following you and your career and, doing the research that I have and getting up to speed on the book, man, just the title alone, I love it. I love it. Over 100 ways I almost died. like just alone. And the way that you break down this book by chapter, singling out individuals and your stories by them. And we're going to get into more of that. But what caught my attention over the weekend, and how we linked up, and again, big credit to say thank you, because he took this interview on last minute. I reached out to him late Sunday night, responded. We had it linked on Monday and locked in, and here we are. But you were recently spending some time with someone that is very important to me in my life and my history with hip-hop, basically being the one and only Corrupt, Dog Pound, Death Row movement. I'm representing today because I can let Death Row Records and the whole West Coast side of the side. I've loved hip hop and all about it, but I've always been gravitated to the West Coast and West Coast sound due to the fact that I'm from Ohio. I'm from Cincinnati. I was born and raised with the funk, by the funk, and only by the funk. Ohio mud, Ohio blood. It is in our veins. And, hip hop was born off of funk, breakbeats, and samples, and especially the West Coast adopted it. But, salute to you for doing the fundraising and helping Corrupt out right now, because, he is going through some medical challenges and definitely needs all the help and support that we can do as a community to support one of the icons that we have in this industry, and truly one of the dopest MCs out there to ever do it, right? And how's he doing, fam?
He looks great. He's literally just relaxing. He's home from the hospital. And he's just resting up, man. There's no rush on anything. Where, before this event happened, Krupp was finishing up his new Death Row album, executive produced by Snoop Dogg. We are finishing an album with Corrupt and Master Killer that was fully produced by Rakim. There's tons of work to be had with Snoop and like the new Death Row regime. And it's, everything was in a good place work-wise, but we recognize that the most important thing that can be done right now is just putting everything on hold and letting Corrupt relax and
Yeah.
Learn to lead a new life that's essentially substance free. Like, Corrupt was a big fan of alcohol. Everyone has their vices.
Yep.
But I've been going to Vegas every week for the past like 8. I'm not going next week. Or I'm actually going to buy a place there, and
Okay.
half the reason is, that way I can literally just be arm's length away. And it's in Vegas and in LA is still close enough that I can hop on a plane or take one of my cars anytime I need to, and be with my family and stuff. But that's my family too. So
Yes, absolutely. And much love and salute to you,
yeah,
man. And that's dope that, those albums and projects are coming out. And yeah, I have to say that I was so happy to see, Death Row actually come back together and starting to make the new push and be a thing because, it truly was one of the most special things during the 90s, right? And uh, eh, it's just one of the many, many special things
yeah.
in moments in time. You
You know,
mentioned, go ahead,
corrupt. If I could just chime in real quick,
please.
I don't want to lose any more of my people. it's
Yeah.
it's hard, but like when we did the Rock Kim album, God's Network in 2024,
Yes.
like I made a lot of people's dreams come true with that record. Like Corrupt
Mhm.
and Rock Kim have always been close. I don't remember the angle of it, but like I think one of Corrupt's kid, yeah, it's one of Corrupt's kids, like Rock Kim's the Godfather.
Mhm.
So every artist that got to be on that album got to live out their dream of working alongside Rakim. And like, Raw was extremely grateful. And I remember, rest in peace, Chino XL. That was like the
Mhm.
biggest feature. Chino says like this is the biggest feature accomplishment of my life, only sparing like the anthem with Sway and Tech and
Yeah.
Eminem and RZA and Tech Nine of them, and and it's like I get it. Like in Raw, like I tried to get Rakim to do that like a project with me for years, and it
Yeah.
wasn't until I came up with the idea, like let's showcase you as the God producer. Everyone knows you as a God MC, and of
Mhm.
course I want you to rhyme, but it's like people have always dreamt of just working alongside you. Just like when we came up with the concept for Wu Tang Meets the Indie Culture in '04,
Mhm.
everyone's dream at that time was to work with Wu Tang, and like Wu Tang didn't really work with people outside of Wu Tang, with the exception of a very select few, like Nas, Biggie, Mob Deep. Like you know, it was not as easy as it is today to lock in a Wu Tang feature like Logic, or just have a random member, from the clan. But yeah, dude, I need Corrupt to be here for ideally outliving me.
Yeah, man. And salute to you about that because I did want to mention, and we'll get into. I have questions about Rakim, and if you guys don't know, this is the gentleman that is responsible for actually doing something that many others have tried to do but never were able to accomplish it. He's able to get Rakim to come out of retirement and come up with a super dope concept, but you know, you mentioned and because you mentioned family and with everything that's publicly documented on this podcast and what I kind of gave you up and run down on basically some of my health challenges and why it is that we're here and this show is here and I'm speaking to you. Um, you mentioned, how important your family is and, how you had to make some difficult and, hard personal changes to your own lifestyle to be able to have a family, right? And,
Yep.
myself included was someone that, I'm blessed and fortunate enough that I have uh, twins, and it was a situation where, we weren't going to be able to possibly conceive. And,
Yep.
we were very much at the point where, wifey and I were thinking, or wifey was coming to the accept, that the fact that, hey, we're probably going to have to adopt, and all of that stuff. And basically, I was like, I there's, I had spoke with one of my best friends who is, a pastor and everything like that, and he spoke to me about and I basically, put faith in it and, started taking steps and walking in the ways that needed to be. And within, a couple of months later, we conceived naturally and we were blessed and fortunate enough to not have one but two. And that was without the use of fertility drugs. And our doctors told us that we were lying to them and we needed to tell them what fertility clinic we went to, right? I was like, well, we just went to the main fertility clinic, if anything. But, you know, the challenges and things that you had to do and to overcome to be a dad, right? And just looking at your Instagram feed, like you can tell that because I know for me, there's been nothing more rewarding in my life than being a father.
I
You know,
enjoy it thoroughly.
yeah, isn't it
You know,
great?
it's the greatest.
Yeah, just to be able to enjoy time with your children and because your kids accept you for who you are, as you are, good, bad, right, wrong, and indifferent. You're their father, and if you put that love in them, they're going to give you that love back, and that's all they want to do. And we take a look at the book. You've had a lot of difficult and crazy, crazy experiences, right? And just to be able to look at the relationships of that you form and build and navigate in the music industry compared to when you have your home life. I want to know how you staying as busy as you are with as many projects that you have, how do you balance your family work schedule?
Um, I'm definitely not the most attentive husband, but I try to be the most attentive father. My daughter is like in kind of like a preschool setup right now. So, I wake up in the morning when she wakes up and I'm there when she has breakfast and is getting dressed and off to school and stuff. And then cool. Then my work day starts and she'll come home around like 5. And then I got about 2.5, 3 hours in there of, playtime, dinner time, story time, just us time. And granted, my phone's still on. It's my work day is from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep. I've never once shut my phone off, and that's a vice in itself. I recognize that. Um, but as soon as she goes back down to bed, especially when it came to like writing the book, like I'd write the book from like it reminded me of when I was M80 the rapper, and I would write songs, in like what they call your vulnerable hours, like where you're just able to be honest and just fucking open. And for writing the book, when I is all just reflective, these are all events that happen and occurred in my life. Those writing hours are usually like 10 p.m. to 5 in the morning. So, the schedule is crazy. I definitely like when I can work an hour or two napping here and there throughout the day, and I'm not getting any younger. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not the most healthiest person, and I need to make some life changes in that aspect. But my wife also works in film, so and she is the head of her company. Like I'm the head of my company. I invented my company, and she was like given like she was like promoted to president of hers. But so we have equally busy schedules, and I think we play well off of each other when it comes to like dedicating time to each other, dedicating together time for our daughter, and just understanding like our schedules are tumultuous and often highly involved. So that being said, like sometimes things have to take a back seat, and whether it's our personal happiness or other, like I know she finds great joy in furthering the company, just like I do with every record bearing my namesake. Like, you know, I'm most happy when I'm doing good for others. Hence, why you see how hard I go for like Corrupt or for Chino and his family. In fact, this is crazy. we shot Chino XL's last ever music video, March 2024, and I'm bringing his youngest daughters to the place that we shot it at tomorrow
Wow.
to film their own scenes. And we're going to release it on the 30th, and it will be Chino with his daughters.
And that's so dope. And the other
I think
thing that I need to make sure that people know and give you your flowers is that you made sure, because I know that there's some things behind the scenes in regards to some of the people that are close to Chino, and this is not a podcast where I'm into dragging people or we're getting into like dirty shit, right? I I like talking about music and hip hop and giving people their flowers, and I want to give you your flowers because you signed over the rights for Chino's catalog and all of the benefits to his rights and privileges, and you can speak more articulately about that, to his daughters, to make sure that basically all of his works and credits that he has go directly to his daughters. So that
to the
in
two
its
to the two youngest.
to the two youngest, and that in itself, sir, I mean, much love to you, because there's a lot of shady, grimy people in the music industry. Tribe said it best. you know, and you're not one of them. So salute to you on that, man, because that takes a lot of credit and or character out of your part.
So it's Chino. Chino never owned any of his masters, and depending on how old you are or when you start as an artist, like record deals have changed drastically. Just all, and it's not just rap; it's across all genres. You look back at like Ray Charles and the Beatles and stuff like this, and like the labels always own the masters. So Chino did a lot of those kind of deals. Um, I attended one of the probate. I've attended several of them, but in one of the very first probate hearings about Chino's estate, between, it's like a family divided. You have the oldest daughter on one side, who I never knew existed. I knew the two youngest daughters, Lyric and Bella, literally Lyric's entire life, and Bella in her later years, after I moved to Los Angeles.
Okay.
But so it's like they made it seem like I was the bad guy, and when I say they, it's China, the oldest daughter, and the people working for China, because I'm everyone's favorite scapegoat. I'm well off. I've definitely put the work in, and no one cares. Like, oh well, this guy has worked to earn his wealth. Like my parents, the last thing my parents ever wanted to see was their son work in the rap industry. Like they never helped for shit along my career plight. But it's like, there was a brief moment where it's like the whole family was against me, because why would they not believe their oldest daughter? Like, this M80 person's bad. But thankfully, even in Chino's limited mental capacity towards the end of his life, because that was big for him. For those at home that might not know, like, Chino, his brain was deteriorating. He had the stage 4 cancer. But for him, he's like, I can't write rhymes anymore. And if I can't write, I don't really have a reason to live. And we could not talk him out of the fact, like, there can be life outside of rap. And, like, think of your family and stuff like that. And I've said this in other interviews before. I was going to work in Australia. And he's like, when you come home from Australia, I won't be alive. He had finished the Darkness in Our Colors album like months prior. And I think he had I think there was a lot of good for him to look forward to ahead, especially with the release of the Rakim record. And of course, it's not like fans were saying this because he passed, but like Chino had the fucking best verse in the whole shit.
Yeah.
So, like, things were only going to get better, at least career wise. But him not being able to like mentally focus and write rhymes, that was big. But Chino had left a note, and Chino had told Lyric and Bella, like, M80 can be trusted. So even though they like kind of went against their dads, like, I'm telling you, he can be trusted, because Chino's so adamant that I was this horrible person. Like, they realized, like, our oldest sister won't talk to us. telling us to call the attorney to speak to her, call Stacey Castro, the like her rep. And Stacey Castro was a woman that worked with Chino for many years, but Chino had fired on several occasions, and we have documentations of all the times that she was fired. I never got the axe, not once. Like, yeah, I might have pissed Chino off from time to time here and there. That's nothing in comparison to how often me and Corrupt argue, like, or me and Wu-Tang argue. Like, that's what family does. Like, I've been in physical fights with my fucking own blood brother. Like, it is what it is. I'm glad I'm glad that just made me smile. I need to get more into that version of me. But so Ben Ordonez, Body Bag Ben, Body Bag Music, owned the album, the Darkness Dark Colors album. And I didn't even know Ben at this time. So like they did that deal without me. And then Chino brought me in like a year later, and I met Ben, and that's when me and Ben like instantly hit it off. We did Cannabis Kaiju, we did a whole Planet Asia album together. I helped him broker works with Ito, and like he's doing this Crooked Eye album right now that's phenomenal. So I said, Ben, I'm interested in buying the masters, and like I'll do whatever like will make you want to sell them to me. And on one side, Ben just didn't want to be part of it. He's like, I was already being dragged by China and them on the Chino XL page. And, so people from the outside looking in are like, I don't give a fuck who M80 is or what he meant to Chino. Like, if they're saying he's bad, he's bad. It's like, meanwhile, there's like 10 posts on Chino's page talking about how fucking like awesome I am. Like, so M80 is my favorite.
So did China get this information from other people that said you were such a bad guy or what? China,
I apparently rubbed her the wrong way from as soon as he passed, and I now like a year and a half later, I know why, because the family wanted to run with the false narrative that Chino had passed from health complications instead of the suicide. So I can't lie. There's not like a lying bone in my body. So like when people ask me to, it fucking like irks me to my core. So that's why I put the things up in my stories that I did showing Chino's health complications, showing the fact that I had paid for the extra 2 years.
I lost your audio.
They're like, oh, this is putting like Dad's personal business out there. But it's like, I would have never done that if you essentially weren't asking me to further the lie. But they used that against me because then they came out and were like, he committed suicide. So it's like, then they try, like, they were weaponizing all the love and aid I provided Chi. And it's so great. I mean, look, the greatest thing ever is providing life. Like, he would have passed away in 2022. It's a fact. And no one else put up a cent. Cannabis, there's so many like stories. I don't know if I hit my point on the one before this now. I was trying to. Okay, let me not cross 8 points here. Ben had sold me the album, and I agreed to turn the profits over to Lyric. And then it wasn't until they were giving me all this shit like that I show and proved in real time, and like so now they own the Darkness in Our Colors album, and they own the Map of Bones album, and I will continue to, like, as the records come out, get them rights. Like Chino had left X amount of work done on God's Carpenter 2 and X amount of work done on the album with Cannabis. So I took those two owners, put them together. You finish that shit together, make God's Carpenter 2, because we're clearly not doing the Cannabis Chino album. And even in that contract, I signed off on all royalties, all rights, everything that was due to me is for the family. And that's just what it is. Like, and they had a really hard time understanding that, I have clients like Wu-Tang Clan, like Rakim, like Snoop. I had DMX, like, the list goes on and on and on. I've worked with Eminem, I've worked with Nas, I've worked with Hove, like, okay. I've had deals I've brokered in a day for Snoop, where my commission might have been equivalent of what I made Chino in 15 years. You follow me? So it's like, be grateful that there's someone like me that exists in the life that was like, I do well, so I can afford to do for you.
Yeah.
like Chino, when I paid for the surgery, was like, I'm gonna pay you back, and I'm, to like laugh about it, like, yeah, good fucking luck with that. But like one time he like Zelled me $300, and I'm like, awesome, like thank you, like, because
That's
I never
solid.
needed him to, pay me back, like, and I told the family that I told like China and Immortal Technique had called.
Salute the mortal.
Now that he's not here, you're gonna like hold them to that money. I said no, but if they drag me like I'm the fucking devil, goddamn right.
Yeah.
Like, you're not about to make me look like the fucking crazy one out here, dude. Like, they literally, it's just so much, dude. It's so much. But China, after I paid for the funeral, and after like all that shit, she had written me like, "Hey, I think we got off on the wrong foot." There was a time where they tried to set me up, and I'm smart, so I sniffed that shit out in a second. Some guy kept writing me on Instagram and was like, "Hey, I really want to donate. I heard you say that the girls might set up a GoFundMe. I want to donate." Now, I always thought they should have done that as a family. Had nothing to do with me. It was just my idea.
Mhm.
Set up a bank account for the three of you. Do the GoFundMe. That's how people, at least in our rap community, show love.
Yeah.
Someone's passed away. Like, that's what we did. Sean Price did. Eminem donated like 10 grand. Like, I think Jay-Z even donated money, like when Sean passed. And it's like, people didn't have to know your dad to want to like contribute to a worthy cause. Like,
Yeah.
so this guy's writing me on Instagram, was like, "I want to donate." And I'm like, "Dude, the GoFundMe thing's not set up yet. Like, I'll let you know when they do." And he wrote me like 7 or 8 times. And I'm like, the last time he wrote me, I was meeting China for the first time. And I said, this timing is crazy. But this guy just wrote me and is so adamant about saying $1,000. Will you just take this guy's money? Because I can't take it. And so I give him China's PayPal, and he sends it to her. And then like a few days later, I hear like, "Oh, M80 didn't go for it." Like it was someone that was friends with the Rebel Arm camp, that they were like trying to set me up and see if after Chino passed, if I would essentially steal money from his family. And I'm like, I didn't steal money from the guy when he was alive. Like, when we were actually able to make money together, I would never even fucking fathom doing such a thing. And so then China apologized to me after that. It was like, "Hey, we have some more invoices related to our dad's funeral, if you wouldn't mind taking care of them." Okay, I open them. The first invoice I see is literally an invoice that Immortal Technique, out of his own mouth, told me he paid. I lost my fucking cool. Like, I went from 0 to 60 in a fucking second. I wrote her back like, "Fuck you, bitch. God, like, you will never like take advantage of me. I've already given you all my I paid for the damn funeral, and they're dragging me on social media. Like, in real time. Like, I paid like 2 days after I paid for it. Like, fuck. I'm like, dude, if you were gonna hate me, I wish you would have done it 3 days prior. Could have saved me some fucking money. I have a family. Every dollar I waste is something that could have gone to my daughter or my wife and I. Like, it's so that blew my mind. But then China never spoke to me again. I think she realized that, no, my level of realness and you trying to be like conniving, it's not gonna mesh together. And Lyric and Bella by this time had realized, like, hey, Matt has shown us zero signs of everything, all this bad that they're saying is, like, and that's all I care about, dude. Like, I can't fake care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Oh, this was one of Chino's kids. I never knew her. I can't just turn it on, like, oh, and that's what I see the people around that side doing.
Yeah.
I know Bella. I know Lyric. I love them when their dad was alive. I love them now. That's what that is.
Was Chino ever, vocal about China?
Chino never mentioned China's name to me, not once in 17 years. And then they come back with, "Didn't you realize that his publishing company was for China Music?" And I'm like, that means absolutely nothing to me.
Gotcha.
My company is called Modern Day David Music. I'm not fucking David.
Yeah.
It's just a name. Like,
Understood.
and if Bella would have been the firstborn, I'm sure it would have been like for Bella Music. It's irrelevant. And as far as, then they tried to say, well, M80 stealing Chino XL's publishing. I said, if you can show me one Chino XL song that I have a publishing stake in, I'll give you $1 million. I could you imagine me having a writer's credit on a Chino XL song?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. So it's like they literally lied to the world like 1,000 times till I disproved every lie. And now they don't talk about me anymore because like there's nothing else to talk about. Sue me if you want. But I think even.
Are you there? Check 1 2. Can you hear me? We lost your audio. There you go.
Yes.
All right.
So I'm hope.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I think China's starting to come around. Okay.
Well,
like I kept trying to tell them, like, dude, your dad was an underground MC. No, one of the greatest.
One of the greatest.
The money opportunities are far. The money opportunities are far and few, and Chino doesn't work like a lot of my clients. Like, I got like, look at how I work with like 38 Special or Benny the Butcher or Husk Kingpin or Planet Asia. These people understand I need consistent output. Yep. Chino is such a perfectionist. It's no wonder why he left more material in the afterlife than he put out in his lifetime, because he would nitpick at every little fucking thing. Like, I want to change a word here or a bar there, or and especially, like, I'll say this and I can smile about it because, like, it's like realistic and respectable and shady at the same time. Like, when someone else is paying for your shit and you already got paid in full, you can like maneuver sneakily like that. Like Map of Bones was finished in like 2012 and just sat there because Chino in email kept telling the guy he wanted to like change a bar here and there, and the guy was like, okay, I'll wait. And then like years would go by and the dude would be like, So like, yeah, Ghostface tried that with me. That's a funny chapter in my book. Ghostface, when it came down to approving the mix and master for his album, like, him and his manager canceled the meeting on me and rescheduled like 16 times. And on the 16th cancellation, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you guys think of it. I like it. It's coming out. It's my album anyway. I was like trying to be courteous and let you approve it. So I
got you. So you have final
not everyone moves like me. Yes, I have final override. I own the master. It's like I'm included. And the interesting thing is, his manager met me when we were going over the roughs to be like, because I was filling in the features, and there'd be like, hey, we don't really fuck with this person like that. Take them off. Or everything else is cool. So I'm like, all right, I got the assignment. I know what I'm going to go back and work. But it was when it was coming down to, Ghost had other album obligations, and my shit in contract took precedence. So then everyone else is pissed off at me, like Deck and then Esoteric with their Ghostface Czarface album, and Sean Wiggs and Remedy with their Ghostface Killers album, and just like, but I came with the fucking bag. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew my shit with Big Ghost was gonna fucking go. And it blows my mind when people don't put that in like the best Ghostface albums category, even though I designed it like Rakim, and that's Rakim liked that. That's what got Rakim to even entertain an album idea. Like, okay, we're gonna have these features and I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. Like, that came from the brainchild of Ghostface. But I think it's a phenomenal album, and it's actually one of my most proud moments in my 20 plus year careers in A&R.
That's dope, because I was going to ask you that question, which was like, one of those works that you're proud of. I do want to circle back because didn't get a chance to ask you the first question, and the first question is now whatever it is, but great conversation. But it is important that we know. Please let us know, what is your first memory that you have associated with hip hop? Like the earliest memory that you can still feel. Put me in that room. And basically, what was so important about it that put you on the path to where you are now today?
I have an older brother. We grew up with my mom and dad in Toledo, Ohio. My brother and I are almost 8 years apart. And he, like, when he got his first car, he'd pick me up from school, take me to school, just like I'd run errands with him. And we'd go to like a Circuit City or a Media, whatever the place was called, Media Famous.
Media
not
Play.
Media Famous.
Media
Play. Thank you.
Man,
Media Play.
Spent a lot of money at Media Play, fam. That's
CD Warehouse. CD Warehouse was a big thing in Toledo. And my brother in the big security cases would come like the CDs, like we got Dr. Dre and Crisscross, and then like Snoop Dogg Doggy Style and Bone Thugs and Harmony. So those were my, and Cypress Hill and Tribe Called Quest. Those are my earliest hip hop memories. And I'm like driving around with them, listening to this, like, this is awesome, you know? And then my brother is the rock and roll version of me, but he manages a band called Kaleo. He worked for Live Nation for as long as I can remember. And so we've worked together on a couple of things, but my love for hip hop came from taking cues from my older brother. And I stayed on the hip hop path and he went the rock path. And, but in the song Hip Hop Glory on my album, Glass City Homegrown Internationally Known, I detail like that exact story.
That's dope.
You know, this is a funny story. I bought Wu-Tang Forever when it came out when I lived in Indianapolis, and I went home to Toledo.
Yeah.
And I used to go to Myers, and I had this fucking system where I'd take any CD I wanted, and then like, you know, say it was like the brand new Jay-Z. Then I would go to like the fucking clearance bin and take like the $3 price tag and like put it on there, and they'd scan it, and it would come up like, you know, $19, but they'd be like, oh, and then change the price to $3. Yeah. So I'm in Meyer one time, and I changed the price on Wu-Tang Forever to like $4. And I'm walking with the giant security case, and it just falls out of the security case. And I'm like, this is God telling me to take it. I put it in my fucking pocket. I just walk out of Meyer, and two security dudes jump out on me, and I got arrested. So, you know, when I started working with Wu-Tang, I was like, this was destined to be.
That's
and my parents were in like Pittsburgh, so my friend's mom had to pick me up, and I had to pay like a $60 fine. You know, that I didn't have $60 then, and like fucking.
How old were you?
Yeah. Like 17, 18.
Right on. We're like,
in fact, I take it back. I definitely had $60, but yeah, that's when a lot of my drug dealing days were happening. And good show, and like the early starts of M80, I definitely had the money, but it was just embarrassing. And I could have just obviously bought the CD for $30 or $4 or whatever it was. But when it fell, I've never seen that happen. It fell out of the fucking case. The whole security case's purpose is to secure it.
Right.
Like, I should take this.
That's hilarious though, man. Yeah. But shout out to Wu-Tang. I've got my turntable cover is the towel that I got from the Impact convention in 1997 for Wu-Tang Forever. It was the promotional beach towel that I got, and like
it's awesome.
That's my shit. I love Wu-Tang, man, and those are another cats that made a humongous impact on my life too. I mean, you've worked with literally, you know, a lot of people that are, you know, my bucket list interviews and all of that stuff, and just people that I've looked up to in the rap game just because of who they are. I mean, KRS-One, of course, you know, Ghost Boogie comes from part of it, Boogie Down Productions, and you know, but Rakim, the God MC. And I mean, for the folks that don't know, you know, that in itself, like, you were able to give him a good pitch, but you had to do all of the work to secure all of the features on there for that, and even positioning and packaging and all of that. Like, how did that happen and that connect happen?
So I was M80 the rapper, and at the time in Indianapolis, Indiana, there's like 4 or 5 like main groups. You got me, you got Rhymefest, you got Original, and you got the Mud Kids. And the Mud Kids are like the top of the food chain. Shout out to
my kids, man. Dope group.
So I was selling out, like, you know, I was like I started college, and at college, from freshman to senior, you got ages 17 to like 23 is like your average, you know, like median there. Yeah. And I found a club that was 18 and up, and I would hold my shows there. And like, that was the best thing for me ever, because I'm on college campus, like promoting the shows, selling CDs. I didn't leave campus every day till I made at least $100. But when I would do shows, I never had like the normal, like, people like, oh, I made like $50 to perform, or I did all these free shows. I never got paid less than $3,000 to do a show in my locality coming up. And I did lots of fucking shows. So I sell out this venue. I made like $7,000. It's called the Cube in Indy. It was 2 stories and it had an outdoor as well.
I
I
know what
sold
you're
it out by
talking about.
myself.
Damn.
Yep. I sold it out by myself. And then I'm doing a show like a couple months later down the street at a place called Tiki Bob's. Sold that shit out too. It's 750 people, $7 a pop.
Yeah.
And on the cube window was like Wu-Tang, like 2 nights. But it wasn't Wu-Tang Clan. It was like it was advertised as Raekwon, Deck, Capadonna, Priest, Law the Dark Man, Remedy, Solomon Childs. I'm like, what the, this is humongous. I walk in there, I'm like, put me on. They're like, oh, without question. Like, what do you want? I'm like, we'll figure it out. Just I want to be on these.
Yeah.
After the first night, I'm hanging out with Priest, Cap, like all of us. And I'm just getting to have like individual FaceTime with everybody. And I brought my giant book of Wu-Tang CDs. Like now I have like 600-700 Wu-Tang CDs. And that's, there's people that have more than me. Like I stopped like collecting like that. But at the time I brought this one book and had like 400 something in it. And Solomon Childs was like, I can't believe you have this. Like, I don't even have this shit. Like it was real. It was like songs he had originally done that were, you know, like lost in like Riz's Flood or whatever the fuck. I'm going over shit with Priest about what I like and don't like about his like beginning into the first 3 or 4 albums in his discography. Capadonna just dropped, I think it was The Struggle. You know, and just like they really took to me because I wasn't like, yo, I was on the show and I rapped and y'all rapped and like we should do a song together. Like that happens, you know, 99 out of 100 times. I was telling them I'm about to go to law school. I love your music more than anything. I know it front to back. I can help you make money. All of them. Get his number. Get his number. Stay in touch with him. Then Priest, even though we're not cool in the present day, I still give Priest his flowers. He literally, without Priest, there's no telling where I would be. At least in the Wu-Tang hierarchy of things. You know, in hip-hop, I would have still probably found my path, you know, outside of just being M80 the rapper. But Priest introduced me to everyone, and Priest introduced me to Dreddy when I was meeting Jizza for the first time. And Priest is telling him this is the guy that's like going to help us like build. And Dreddy's like, I'm starting to think differently music. Like Riz is going to oversee it. Do you want to be a part of this? I'm like, yes. So I was in law school in San Francisco during the years. And I lived in New York during the summers. And that's when we made Wu-Tang Indie Culture. And that's when we did Bronze Nazareth and The Wise Men and Jizza Pro Tools. And it got to the point where like Dreddy just being Dreddy. You know, I didn't give a fuck. Like I wasn't, it's not like it's, you know, today, like you could listen to China or Stacey Castro go on Chino XL's Instagram and be like, M80's a bad person. And you're so dumb, you're going to fucking believe it. Like, none of that mattered to me back then. Like, it didn't matter if someone had a bad reputation. Like, I looked at it like, I'm getting an opportunity here. You know, whatever happens is going to happen. So, like, yes, I had to learn all the bad shit that happened to me in my development was ultimately the best for me because I got paid $2,000 to work on Wu-Tang Indie Culture and it made $1 million+. And I never saw another cent again. But it didn't sour me from working in music because I love hip hop culture. What can I do to ensure this never happens again? And that's when I came up with the idea to invent Holy Toledo Productions. And then the verse licensing business was a couple of years later, and like really coming to my own as an A&R, you know, from Dreddy. But I didn't quit. I didn't give up. And then Baby Grand started to see my output go crazy. Like Dreddy kind of like had his wind and then like stopped. And then Baby Grand offered me 6 figures to do this is in the book too, it's in the Dreddy Kruger chapter. You know, we want you to do the next Wiseman album, we want the follow-up to Almighty, we want the Wu-Tang Indie Culture too. And the first thing I did, because again, loyal, I called Dreddy, hey man, they're gonna offer me this amount of money, I'm gonna kick you back X just because I would have never been able to get this kind of offer if it wasn't for your tutelage. And instead of him being happy for me, which is what I thought was going to happen, because I'm like, I'm calling to tell you I'm going to give you money. You don't have to do shit.
Right.
Oh, fuck you. Like, how dare you feel like you surpassed me? You're my student. I'm the master. You're like, you're a fraud. You'll never be anything. And it's like, bro, I'm everything now. I'm literally every fucking thing. Like when you are trying to do business with these labels, they call me to see if I'm okay with it. And because you were such a dick to me, I say no every fucking time. But when it comes to like Priest or Razcast, like Razcast and I are friends now, and that was like my arch nemesis at the time. Like when people still call me like, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z for Priest, I still make sure it happens. But like I'll never forget the people that really tried to like hold me down. you know, and not in a good way, hold me down, like hold me down to ensure that I didn't succeed.
You
I
know, and
can
there's
honestly say I've never tried to blacklist any artist, but I know that motherfuckers have been trying to get me for the longest.
and that's kind of a lesson, I guess, for, everybody that's coming up. And it's just a lesson in life, uh, always do try to do good by people, man, and let your word be your word and stand on your word. And, but the golden rule is the only rule really that at the end of the day, if you revert to and you stick to it, it pays off, right? So, uh, yeah, that midget Mike said Raskaz never want to show up on this, but like, hey, look, I've had Raskaz booked for this podcast 3 times and he's backed out, or so I've tried to have him on. Raskaz, I'm talking to you, fam. Holla at me.
I'll let him know. I gotta talk to him this week
Nah,
because
it's all
there's some weird shit going on with the Horsemen right now. Like fans were writing me like I can't find the album on streaming.
yeah.
It's like what? And it's not there anymore. And all the
Yes.
physicals are sold out, and we're still under contract with Fat Beats, but they're claiming they don't owe us any money. But it's like, what? Like, and I asked Raz, I'm like, did you know about any of this? He's like, no. Now they won't talk to me because I have the lawsuit going.
Hmm.
And it's not even about how much money you owe M80, though they do owe me, and now they're making up for it. They've totally fucked Capadonna. They sold out of all the Capadonna albums, the Third Chamber Grail bars. Cap hasn't got paid a penny. Explain
wow.
that. Explain it. So I
That's
take
for
him to
Fat
court.
Beats?
Yep.
Yeah.
And no, they it's in the book, like they, with the M80. I've never been more scared of another human being in my life than when we went Matthew Markoff. Like, shut the fuck up. I'm a fucking random ass dude.
I got you.
Like, imagine that. I've never been so scared in my life, and then I met M80. I wish that was true sometimes. I wish motherfuckers feared me like that. Motherfucker, I'm normal, dude. I'm just someone that's strictly about the business. So it's like I'll play around with you once the business is done, but like we don't play beforehand.
Right.
Like that's why, like on my Instagram, that third pin post on my feed, these are my services, these are my fees, bro. I send that shit out to 100 people a week at least. For 2 of them, that's 2% to come back. Okay, I want to hire you for a consultation, or I want you to like do a contract for me, or whatever. It simplifies my life. I can't waste, especially with as much shit as I got going on that you said yourself. I can't waste any time. I only get to listen to like less than 10 albums a year that come out as a fan of hip hop that don't bear my namesake, because that's how ingrained I am in just focusing on what we're working on in that time. It's not to be influenced by what anyone else is doing.
Yeah. Man, it's there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of dedication and a lot of grind, and salute to you on
Thank you.
Just continuing to stay focused, especially with all of the noise and chatter you mentioned several times, and you've had getting into the book briefly, tell everybody about the book, and how you finally, because you had mentioned earlier on when you had your daughter and everything, like, and finding time to write it and put all of these things down. What was it that made you say finally, like, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna write a book on this crazy shit? And because I've almost over 100 times by all these different artists, like, almost lost my life.
The book originally, dating back to 2016, was called Who's Your A&R? And it was just like in chronological order, like my best stories of working with all these people. And I'd write the stories, and I got a few done, but then shit started changing. Like Razkaz and I squashing our beef that was literally going to end in one of us dying, and becoming friends. And like, I call my friend to this day. And doing the Horseman album together was like a humongous step in the right direction. At first, when we started working together just on like random features, he'd tell me what he wanted to get paid, and I'd always pay him more just to let him know how appreciative I was to like have him back in good graces. Raz and I, our dynamic was the reason the Horseman album didn't work back in like 2009. Like I met Corrupt. I'd worked with Cat, a long-standing work history with Cannabis and Priest. He was like, "You're the missing link." Raz just didn't take to me. He's like, "I don't understand why we need this white dude." I literally brought everything to the table. I had the deal on the table, the investor, like it was all there, and Raz pissed it away. Like just how he felt about me. And then the funniest part of that shit too is like we're at Kill Priest's birthday party one night. Me, Corrupt, we were all there. Corrupt, Razgaz, Priest, Cannabis, me, our friends, and I'm with this girl that just moved to LA, and I knew she had a boyfriend, but she was an intern at this other label that I did the Under Gods album with, Cannabis, Keith Murray in Seattle. So I was like, "Hey, I'm in LA, come hang out. We're going to this party." And Raz like took her from me, like thinking it was like, "You're stealing my bitch." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." But Raz's assistant was a chick. So I'm like, "I got you." Like, and she was single. So I take her. Raz goes outside. He's talking to the girl, and the girl's leaving, and like gives him a hug. And then I step out of this car, and I'm putting my pants on, and Raz looking at me, and the girl comes out and she's like wiping her mouth. And Raz wanted to whoop my fucking ass, and I was cracking up because no one would let it happen. Like, you can't fight M80. What's wrong with you? Like, M80 is the whole, like, he's the glue. So, and I'm the glue in a lot of the scenarios. But it's nice that we can call each other friends today and laugh about shit. And like Raz says, I'm like his best worst friend. Fucking, just like The Horseman is the debut finale album. But so the story's changed. I wasn't writing a Razcast chapter about how by the time this book comes out, like one of us is going to be dead. It was like, now this guy's my friend. And I'm like, shit. But I started to notice that a lot of the stories had this underlying theme of like times where my life was in danger. And I'm like, that's the better read.
Absolutely. And it's definitely,
and I can give people a more in-depth look into my past so they understand like, oh, this dude wasn't just a fucking nerd. Like, it wasn't just like book smart. Like, I've always had the street level to me, and I don't want to necessarily say I still run shit in places, but it's like my presence is felt, And yeah, so like chapters like the Go Fast Rich chapter delves into drugs and murder and the fucking the Block Boy JB chapter and chapters like Inspector Deck and War Cloud where I'm doing fucking arms deals, to help records get made. It's like, respect it for all the shit you don't see. Like, I'm definitely a workings man.
Yeah, I was trying to explain that to my family and just a little bit of things that I was around and did, and I was a witness to a lot of it, and people don't realize there's especially back in the '90s and all of that stuff, and even now, there's very much an element of danger involved in hip hop. You mean, it still is, and
you read that very first chapter, the Toledo, Ohio chapter, and like that, I think was one of the closest moments where it's like my life could have ended.
Yeah,
and like, thank fucking God. Like, God, I definitely consider myself one of God's favored.
Yeah, people don't realize, Ohio's people in Ohio are a little special. We're special.
Yep.
And it's full of special people. That's all we're gonna say, man. Yep. There's one question that I really would like to have an opportunity to ask you, if you could please, because DMX is such an animated individual, and just you hear all of these crazy stories, like funny stories, because at the end of the day, it seems like everything that I never met DMX, but at the end of the day, it seems like he was a good-hearted individual that just had a lot of trauma that he had to work through and was dealing with a lot of things. But he seems like he was a good guy,
He was a great guy. He was a great guy, and he cared about people like I care about people,
genuinely,
bro.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
and yeah, that's so beautiful, and it's so fucking tragic and so horrible to see, how it played out, and and people don't realize how bad addiction can get a hold of you. And and if anything, unfortunately, when you see people struggle, it's like, man, take a listen and learn from what they do. See how beautifully gifted people are that's been taken from our lives, that are artists that are no longer here due to substance, struggles with substance abuse. But my question to you, man, is like, all right, so you gave the keys over to DMX when everyone around you was like, "Hey, fam, don't do this," right? And you out of the better
every single time I was in a vehicle with DMX, my life was in danger. That could have been its own chapter. In fact, I might have written that into the DMX chapter. But the Maserati scenario was the second time I'd ever been in the car with him. Bro.
See, I've puffed on Henny, puffed on blunts and drank Henny while I was driving, but I've driven slow, homie.
That was the Suburban story. And we're going 70 in like a 35. And every time I'm on that street beforehand, I've gotten pulled over and got a ticket. I always forget that like the mayor lives on that street in Indy and it's heavily like patrolled, and like we did not get pulled over. It was a fucking miracle, and DMX made it to the show. We did the show on time. They didn't want to let like my people in and the Rough Riders in and shit like that, and DMX wasn't going to go on stage until then, so they had no choice but to be like, all right, M80, you won. I'm like, I didn't win shit, dude. Just it's not my fault you're losing money on the show. It wasn't even my show. I had Ritz play the night before, and I had Yell Wolf and Jelly Roll and Bubba Sparks and Struggle Jennings the night after, but I got banned from that venue after DMX. They just weren't having it. They were doing their best to try to arrest me and shit and like find drugs and shit on me. And I knew they were on some fuck shit, so I'm in there sober as a gopher, just chilling. Like they were like, he was smoking a cigarette on stage. I'm like, and
right,
yeah. So, but X was the greatest, bro.
Hell yes.
And I definitely wish he was still here because he fucked with me. And I'm glad that I have that video clip of he's, like we're in the studio together working for the very first time. And he's like, but we've met each other. It was the first time working. We'd met each other many times beforehand at like Rock the Bells events and stuff like that. And he's like, you've always stepped right to me from the minute I met you. And like, like you're not like these others. And, that's all the validation I needed right there, dude. Like, there's people that still 20 years later look at me like I don't belong or like a lick or, like just whatever. And it's very sad that exists still when it's like, I'm just here to provide fucking to better you. If I'm bringing deals to the table that wouldn't otherwise be on the table without me, what do you don't like? What don't you like about me? Like, so for people like Chino to accept me and DMX and Corrupt and Snoop, and Crooked Eye and Planet Asia and people like Planet Asia has always had my back. Like I remember he was a humongous proponent of me during the Pete Rock shit because Asia was there and he was like, no, like I can't stand up for my fellow black man in this scenario because I know he's lying. And maybe he did nothing wrong here. Paid Pete when he needed to get paid, did the contracts when there needed to be contracts. Pete's on some bullshit. And a lot of other people
that don't know. You asked, look, for folks, not to interrupt you, I'm so sorry, but you asked Pete Rock, you just challenged, like, hey, look, let's run a fade. Like, here's the one thing that's a theme about you is that you don't bullshit. Like, you will, if people want to go ahead,
I've won fights and I've lost fights, dude, and I'm still alive. Like, that's the beauty of fighting. Like, you can't win them all, and I haven't won them all. But I didn't shy away from it either, especially when I'm standing up for what I believe is right. So, like, there's people like Corrupt and Razkaz that didn't want to be as vocal about it as they could have because they were in the messages too, knowing that I did right. But it's like, oh, well, we like Pete's our brother or Pete's a legend or Raz, like, I still need Pete to do X, Y, and Z for me. And it's like, okay.
It's an awkward
because I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So there's, just it's to each his own. It's like, but yeah, I'm always going to be the bad person in someone's eyes. And so I just got to like wear that hat sometimes.
Just embrace.
You want me to be the bad guy? I'll be the biggest motherfucking bad guy you've ever seen. You want to be my friend? I'll be your best friend, man.
Absolutely. Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
yeah, yeah, I get it, and I've had to balance that in my own personal life and career. I think everybody does too, because you have to be like, all right, at the end of the day, fuck it. If you're gonna run with this narrative, run with this narrative. At the end of I know what's core and what's real and everything for me. Um, so how are you on time?
let's do like 10 more minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna forego any of the questions that I have prepared because we do have folks that are here that are tuned in live and they are
That's
wanting
awesome.
to ask questions, and I want to make sure that the people that support us live have an opportunity to get their questions
To
asked.
people who want to buy my book, go to my Instagram, Almighty M80. Click the link in my bio. And if you can't
Yes,
afford my book, you can download it in a digital PDF for free.
yes,
Also
yeah.
on the site.
And the link is in the YouTube description as well. So you can go directly there, boom, 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 and check it out. It is amazing, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you read it. It's you will be very, 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 very thrilled. And even to the section of where like people that don't even deserve to get a chapter. Like the one thing
Like,
is you're all about the smoke.
you're the full chapter worthy.
Yeah,
But
but you're
let me
just you're about the
yeah.
smoke. I love it. I love it. I love it. You don't pull any punches, and that's real shit. I fucking love it.
There's no hands hidden here.
Look, we're rough, rugged, raw, uncut, unfiltered. So the first question is for you, from Mr. Felony Loke, M80. What's Crook's new project called?
There's two projects. There's Good vs. Evil 3, and then the other project produced by Body Bag Ben does not yet have a title.
Understood. Got you. And look, what was the thing that where you put out the other day, a post where someone was talking about it was one of the albums, was it Jay's Cole album that's like supposed to
J.
be over
Cole.
3 hours, and you're like, no, it's 2 hours and 48 minutes. You're welcome. I was just like, oh hell
I haven't heard the whole thing. It's just a process of deduction.
no.
A vinyl is 42 minutes long. Each side's 21 minutes. If it's
Yeah,
4 vinyls, you take 42 and times it by 4. That's 2 hours and 48 minutes.
there you go.
Yeah.
Mathematic. Know your math, damn it. All right, next
Yes,
one's
that's
from
it. That's
Midget
all.
Mike. Is M80. How was it the first time you heard Cannabis? Was he ready for a takeover on rap until he put out that woke ass album with Wyclef, or whack ass album with Wyclef?
Now look, I didn't remember. When Cannabis came out, I was in high school living in Indiana. I met Cannabis about 9 years later at the House of Blues backstage at a Jizza concert. Priest again introduced us, and I just remember from that night that me and Jizza and Priest thought it was hilarious that he was wearing a button-up shirt and wingtips, or a rap concert. It looked like he was about to go hit fucking Studio 54 or something. But I still think that Cannabis is an amazing MC. I just wish he wasn't the same Cannabis that's so in his fucking head that he ruins everything. And
Do you think it's like a
was a perfectionist.
it's perfectionism? I got you.
Was a
So
perfectionist to a fault. Can you? Yeah.
you there?
Okay. So Chino is a perfectionist to a fault, but Cannabis's fault, yes, Cannabis's fault is he's always in his head and everyone's against him. And it's not that at all, dude. Like, just exist and make your music. But I could not convince him. Even when he told me, hey, I got a job and we started working together again, I was like, how much money do you make at your job? Quit your job tomorrow and I'm going to give you that amount of money. Then we're going to fucking just put out whatever we can every month. And the first year we did that, I made him ×3. And he just still didn't like being in the rap game and the politics that come with it, especially after Pete Rock randomly was talking all the shit. And it's like, Cannabis and Pete Rock were on the phone together several times during the making of what was supposed to be an album that ended up just being the 3 songs. But like,
Gotcha. Understood. So next question from Gorilla Strong. M80, any stories working with Army of Pharaohs? Been a fan of yours since way back. Sending love and respect from Virginia.
There is a Jedi Mind Tricks and Army of Pharaohs chapter that's in the book. I've worked with Vinny on some things like, Vinny's on the Bronze album or Almighty album, and then Bronze did work on Vinny's shit, and I brokered Corrupt for Vinny's album from like a year or two ago. No, from oh Jesus, that was several years ago. 2022 maybe. It came out right before Gotti Mob came out. Um, so we've done works like that, and then Vinny's done works with the Winners, which I'm affiliated to the Winners with like Husk Kingpin and Rosewood and Rosati and Giallo Point and Smooth. So I have the utmost respect for Vinny. I think Vinny is one of the fucking best. Okay, now Vinny, I don't think has always been an M80 fan for shit that we just could have easily talked out had we had the opportunity to talk it out. But like there's a Army of Pharaoh song where I think it's Planetary like takes a jab at me, and I'm like, I've never fucking met this guy. Like, okay. And it obviously like one of my friends who's a diehard Army of Pharaoh fan had told me, he's like, I think they diss you in the song. So go download my book and read that chapter. You'll figure out what the song is. I think it's like Luxor's Temple or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I had it in my notes. But
yeah, like
all around.
So no, I've never worked with the Army of Pharaohs, and Esoteric has not. He's not a fan of mine either, because they wanted to use me to try and get X-Ray Records to like forego a provision of Ghostface's contract that would have allowed the Ghostface Czarface album to come out early. It came out, I think, like October of whatever that year was, like 2019, but they wanted it to be December 2018, and there was a clause in Ghostface's contract that no other works bearing Ghostface's name as a primary could drop in a 6-month time frame. And like, so I called the label, I tried, and the label's like, why would we like essentially stop our income to help someone that's not on our label? So I call him back, and he's like, oh, fuck you. Like, you said you were going to do this for me. I'm like, I made the call, bro. I don't run the fucking label. And that's what caused the riff with me and Deck. Then Deck calls me, is all pissed off about it. I'm like, you're yelling at the wrong fucking person.
Yeah.
Like, cut the shit, dude. Like, the terms of the contract are what the label wanted Ghost and Mike to sign to get Ghost the amount of money he requested. I'm a guy making money off the deal. You're looking at me like, I'm fucking you. No. And the funny thing is, them dropping in like October, whenever the fuck they did, maybe it was like February. It was really, I don't know. I don't remember. It was like very early on in the beginning of the next year. They started doing pre-orders at the end of the year. Still was in violation. And I never got a thank you for making sure they didn't get fucking sued, because I told them, I'm like, if you guys drop when you want to and you get sued, you will make nothing. You owe every cent to this label. So like, people don't respect the intelligence factor. They don't respect, like, I'm like, even though I don't know you, like, I'm trying to look out and help you because you're affiliated to Wu-Tang in some way, shape, or form. Like, so, over the years, I've cared less and less about people, but I'll never stop caring to the extreme level I do about my core, which, is your Chinos, your Corrupts, your Crooked Eyes, your Asias, your Husses, like that kind of shit, like, and more,
the
and
people that are close and do you right.
People that are close to me. Like, I still work with Ghost from time to time, but like, he knows, and you can read about it in the chapter, like, him and his people definitely tried to do me dirty. Ghost told me, like, I almost made a post one time saying, like, this album's bootleg and don't support it. But then, like, I remember, like, you paid me literally exactly what I wanted, when I wanted, and it was me. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for not being a complete piece of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got M80, who's your top 5 MCs any era?
Any era? Is that what?
Any era.
Well, it changes from time to time, but the consistent, like, the 90% of the times, you're going to see me name Redman. 90% of the times, you're going to see me name Scarface. You're going to see me name Tupac. That's 3. Nas and Jizza. Those are you. Now, sometimes I swap it out. Sometimes I swap it for a Jay-Z. Sometimes I swap it for Ad Rock from Beastie Boys. But yeah, those are usually at least 3 of the 4 that you can find in my top 5 every time.
Absolutely dope.
Always Redman.
Man, Reggie. It's the one and
Mm-hmm.
only Reggie, man. Reggie,
Mm-hmm.
Red Man.
Red's the one who gave me the nickname Pimp Nuts.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope, man. Like, what is Red? Seems like he is absolutely one of the most funnest individuals to be around, and seems like he's just fucking happy at all times. And I know off camera we go through some shit, but it seems like he truly does try to make
Yeah,
the best of every fucking situation and have like be the light in the room.
I love Redman, man. Good person,
Fuck
good
yeah.
guy. And we've never like worked like that together. Like, but he's always been there for me when I needed him, and vice versa.
Understood. Got a question for you, last one. How did you
Thank you.
feel about the Slaughterhouse breakup? Should they have made more material? This from Midget Mike.
I wish they would have never broken up. I mean, they're phenomenal. You know, like it all stems from, I guess, Joe Budden, and Joe Budden's clearly happier in his current life, and making the money that he feels is indicative of who he is as a human being. And I had very deep-seated opinions when I know there were record labels that were making offers to sign Slaughterhouse without him, and then Royce would not. Excuse me, Royce would not like sign off and subscribe to that, which led to the albums being made with just Crooked Eye and Joel Ortiz. Um, but if it's not in you anymore, it's not in you. Like, I would still like to make one more M80 album at some point in my career, but the older I get, I'm like, what the fuck do I even want to talk about?
But dude, you're a Guinness Book of World Record holder, so we didn't even get into that. So I've got so many fucking questions, but we're at the end. But like, just to go, so you guys don't know, because we've been talking about your accolades as an executive and everything that you've done. But yes, you've had a very, very accredited and historic career yourself, as far as holding what was it, 2009? You fucking freestyled for almost 10 hours straight, bro.
Yeah, I did that. And I
So
got the motivation to do that from MC Supernatural. I was physically there when he broke the Guinness World Record. I think it was like 07. I was there.
Well, salute to you. That shit right there. I mean, you've got a fucking Guinness Book of World Records, and as an MC, salute to you, because at any point that you can insert hip hop culture into something as historic, or as the Guinness Book of World Records, that's dope as hell, man. And the final question as we get up out of here: what's the lesson you learned that you had? What's the lesson you had to learn the hard way that changed how you move today, so you can actually just impart it to everybody else that's out there going through any things in their life, inside, outside the music career, just that they can apply to their life?
Okay. No one knows it all, especially in the realm of arts and entertainment. It is a learning process on the go. Don't oversell yourself. Like, be yourself at all times. Say what you can do and do what you can say, and you will go a long way. That's the saying. Like, there's been jobs I've had to turn down because, like, educational wise at the time, I wasn't adept enough. Like, when I was a 1L, a first year law student, Hieroglyphics wanted to hire me, or Hyro Imperium, the label, to like seek out back royalties owed for like 93 to Infinity and shit like that. And I couldn't do it. I'm not there yet. I'm there today, but that's 17, 18 years later. Just be a man of your word, man. Just be a good human being, do good business. Like, I'm 44 years old. I've been doing this shit. I've known that this is what I've wanted to do since I was 13, and I've planned accordingly with my educational pursuits and my business pursuits. But it's like, I've seen a countless amount of people come and go because they looked at everything like it was a lick or a quick come up. They had no real long-term game plan. Artists that refuse to really invest into themselves. People who refuse to, like, oh, well, I don't want to, like, school is not for me. Okay, if school's not for you, at least educate yourself to what it is you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
Libraries exist. The internet exists for a reason. So it's like people are always looking for a quick buck or the safe way out or the smartest, safest play, but you're taking away all the elements that are actual, the intellectual part of the program. So please, please, always, invest without emotion, believe in yourself, believe in others, and come to terms with what works for you and what's not going to work for you, and just modify that program year in and year out, and you'll be all right.
So, and as you say on your book the cover of your book, have thick skin.
The thickest, the thickest,
Yes.
dude.
Look, hey man,
Like, I
thank you.
appreciate you taking the time, man. Thank
No,
you. And
hey,
like, the thick skin just goes to show you, dude. I spent half the fucking interview crying. So, like, if we were talking about some of that shit like corrupting Chino, and I sat here and talked without emotion, it'd be bullshit.
hey, look, it's genuine, and thank you so much for being vulnerable and just then sharing your story. I hope to have the opportunity to do this again with you sometime. We're going to end the
Thank you.
episode. If you could just hang on for 1 second before we go.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, we will be back. Just B-Boys episode number 2 tonight. I've got the one and only Dose One. He battled the one and only Eminem at Scribble Jam 97, who I was there. Anytime you see any episode footage of Scribble Jam, yeah, that's the white boy. This is the one. So anyway, we're gonna go over that. We're gonna go over his career. I'm gonna catch up with one of my homies from back in the day, B-Boys Underground, coming back to you live 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. Ghost Boogie 66 and B-Boys Underground on YouTube.com. Anything to say before we get up out of here, Almighty? M80.
I appreciate all those that are tuning in, and definitely continue to support the channel, man. Thank you very much, guys.
God bless you. God bless you all. I'll see you in a minute. Peace.
Peace.
And